Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Kia ora, brothers. It's the director. Chargers fans. Man, dude, I just posted this on Twitter, dude. Free agency talk is getting me super hyped, and we still have a week before the legal tampering period does officially begin. But man, dude, the rumors are just spilling in, and I couldn't help but get on camera and talk a little bit about some of the things that we're hearing, especially the things that are connected to the Chargers, because once again, man, I don't have to remind you guys, the Chargers are in for probably one of the craziest off seasons that we may have ever seen because of the amount of cap space we got, the young roster and stars that we got, and then most importantly, Justin Herbert's rookie contract. So, man, dudes, just so exciting. Now, there's huge rumors circulating around the league right now, okay? I'm sure I don't have to tell you with all of the madness that we've been seeing on Twitter, but, you know, again, Tom Telesco went from a no quarterback contract window sort of mentality in one of his older interviews to, we have a lot of money and we're going to use it. So I do think that with all the madness that's being talked right now, it does kind of set the stage for at least the possibilities of what the Chargers can do this offseason. So it should be a good time. Now, again, I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say this. Take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt, okay? I'm telling you guys things that I'm hearing around the league via Twitter and news articles and Bleacher Report, all that kind of stuff. I keep pretty connected with what's going on, so I can't verify 100% of these, but they do come from pretty reliable sources. So before we do get started, guys, hit us up with the like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small minute time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. And also, question in the comments for you guys. Out of all of the players linked to the Chargers, who do you want the most? Let me know in the comments section below. With that, let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. What's going on in Rumorville, man? Twas the week before free agency, I should say. Lots of stuff exploding on Twitter today. Of course, you guys know the tagging period's coming up pretty soon. The tag deadline is coming up pretty soon. So we're seeing some movement finally in terms of free agency in the 2020 offseason. So let's get right into it, man. We got a lot of names to go over in this one, starting with Mike Williams. The last thing I heard is that Mike Williams is more likely going to return to the Chargers. Okay, it really does seem like to me, it does feel like the Chargers are trying to get a long-term contract, which is really good news, at least for me. I think the Chargers would be wise to, give him 3-4 year contract and keep him on the roster long-term, because the longer you put it off with tags and stuff like that, the more expensive he's going to be. Just to put that in retrospect, if we had signed Mike Williams to a 4-year contract last season, it would have been in the realm of $15.5 million annually. Whereas if we did it now, it's closer to $18 million annually. So you kind of get the picture there, okay? The last thing I don't want to mention about Mike Williams is that there is a potential suitor that has been listed in case he does, enter free agency, and that name is the Kansas City Chiefs. So if anything, Tom, don't let the grubby Chiefs get their hands on Mike Williams. He's been the kryptonite of Kansas City for us the last couple of seasons. And, honestly, it sounds like he's going to stay on the team. But if you need any better reason, don't let him go, because the Chiefs are going to scoop him up. I don't know how to afford it, but they always seem to figure it out. The cap is a myth. Next up, staying in town, in home, we do have Kyzir White. Again, there's no real recent movings on this rumor. The last thing we heard is that perhaps Tom Telesco, or I should say Brandon Staley, might be looking in a new direction as far as, the personnel he wants to keep on the field, and that may not include Kyzir White, which really does suck. I hope that he stays with the Chargers, but, you kind of have to understand his angle a little bit. I wouldn't let him go. I don't think he's going to be that expensive, but at the same time, there's a reason behind it, okay? And then next up, we've got Uchenna Nwosu supposed to be on here. Uchenna Nwosu as well. There are rumors that the Chargers do want to bring him back. We should. I think he would be a young, cheaper option to keep there on the opposite side of Joey Bosa, but I do have to state, okay, the Chargers have a stupid amount of options this season when it comes to edge. All right. And although I would love to have Uchenna Nwosu back, some of the names I'm seeing in free agency could be a huge and honestly big impact difference maker on that defensive line as far as getting to the quarterback. So I do want Uchenna Nwosu back, but with some of the options out there as well, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chargers pursue some of those options in free agency too. So let's take a look at the guy you guys saw flash on the screen here for a second in Cordarrelle Patterson. There have been rumors, right? We've heard Brandon Staley talk about this guy. He likes this guy. The Chargers are going to put a huge emphasis on, special teams this offseason. Cordarrelle would fit like a glove. And at the same time, he's just one of those gadget players, man, that I think Brandon Staley salivates over. He's very creative in his defense. I feel like he would like to bring some of that creativity to the offense as well. And Cordarrelle Patterson gives you every avenue in the world to accomplish that. Now, big reason he's on this list is because I was tagged on Twitter by Danny Munger a couple of days ago. I think it was during the draft at least. And he says, "Hey, director, take a look at this." And he posted a comment saying future Chargers, and guess who decided to like it? Cordarrelle Patterson. And as a matter of fact, at that time, it was the only tweet that he had liked in the last 24 hours. There was like 178 replies to the tweet that he replied to, and he only liked one. And it said future Chargers. So keep that in mind. I think, Cordarrelle Patterson, there's no for sure thing, but I know Brandon Staley likes him, and it looks like Cordarrelle Patterson likes the Chargers back. Next up, we got Derwin James. If you guys hadn't heard, Derwin James and the Chargers, there's a mutual interest in a long-term contract, which of course there is. I don't think that's news to anybody, but at the same time, it's nice to know that the process has begun. They are talking. It feels like they're going to engage in more, I guess, permanent talks later on this offseason. So I would expect Derwin James to get his extension here, I would say in the next 3 months or so. But yeah, Derwin James, no reason for him to leave. He loves it, or he loves Los Angeles. He loves Brandon Staley, and I don't see any reality where Derwin James moves on from the Chargers. Next up, this next one's a bit of, hot off the press, big news too, dude. This one kind of shocked me a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Brandon Staley did state that you can never have too many cornerbacks and that we're going to be pretty aggressive in pursuing more cornerbacks for this team. Shortly after, I would say like 48 hours after, we got some huge news about Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson being linked to the Chargers. And in the tweets, I can't remember who tweeted, a validated source said that the Chargers could be in the mix for J.C. Jackson and or Stephon Gilmore. Let's not go crazy here, okay? Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson are going to carry pretty hefty cap hits, right? They're going to be very, very expensive. But at the same time, it just goes to show how serious Brandon Staley is to adding more defensive back help on this team, which, again, is kind of telling of what he wants to do. Brandon Staley wants that loose and nimble defense out there that's good in coverage, but you're going to have to pick up a quality edge to make that work. This also makes me ask the question, are the Chargers about to introduce more man coverage into their defensive scheme? Because both of these guys, certainly man coverage specialists. We've got Asante Samuel Jr. out there who is really good in man as well. The Chargers habitually have been more of a zone-heavy defense the last couple of seasons. But you know what? There's a game I noticed that I think man coverage certainly came into factor, was our game versus the Kansas City Chiefs, in which we took them down. Lots of cover one man out there on the field that day. And I think moves like J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore could help the Chargers implement more of that into their defensive game plan. So I like it, man. If the Chargers get one or both, that's a huge signing for this offseason. Do I think it happens? It could, but I do think there's other options out there in terms of, cornerback that might be a little bit cheaper and help the Chargers, allocate that money to the defensive line a little bit more, which is where we need it the most. But still, the cap is a myth. If the Chargers wanted both of these guys on the roster next season, we could do it. There's nothing really holding us back. But at the same time, you have to kind of ask yourself what the Chargers' immediate plan is for success in making the Super Bowl this season versus, how they want to protect their future. So this would be a big move. That's some big, big news in terms of stuff being connected to the Chargers. Next up, Javarius Ward. Speaking of decent quality corners, obviously Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, those guys are going to be a lot better than Javarius Ward. But at the same time, Ward is a solid corner. And again, it kind of helps me back to the question, are we about to introduce more man coverage? Because Javarius Ward, who was linked to the Chargers, the rumor is that the Chargers would be a team of interest if Ward does hit free agency, which at this point, it certainly looks like a good possibility. Ward, once again, not like he's known for being a more man coverage corner. I would say a corner utilizing a man-heavy scheme, and it's just another kind of like, I don't know, just an indication, a clue that the Chargers may be wanting to move in that direction, which is exciting because I think this could introduce more blitzing packages, could introduce a lot more, stuff that we saw from the Los Angeles Rams in the Brandon Staley era. So I like it, man. Javarius Ward, to me, last I heard, his contract would be somewhere between like $9 and $11 million, and that's honestly not too bad when you're talking about a second cornerback 2, which would honestly, in my opinion, push down Mike Davis down the depth chart a little bit, which honestly is not a bad idea. Just add a little bit more depth to that team. He's certainly an option for the Chargers. Next up, we have got Honey Badger Tyrann Mathieu. Honey Badger's been tweeting some pretty gnarly stuff, man. It seems like he's hoping for a revenge tour of some sort. It looks like he's going to be leaving the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason and that he's not done playing. And it sounds like he may want to go up against his former team in the Kansas City Chiefs. Would this be a good move for the Chargers? Yeah, of course it would. Some would say that he's not washed up, but he's not the same Honey Badger as old, and that's honestly absolutely true. But at the same time, he's a huge playmaker that, again, thinking about him in a man-heavy scheme with the Chargers and Derwin James, which, of course, if you guys didn't know this, Derwin James and Tyrann Mathieu were yucking it up at the Pro Bowl, just a few weeks ago, and it just seemed like Derwin wanted him to come play with the Chargers. So there are connections there. Nothing definitive, nothing, official, but at the same time, Honey Badger to the Chargers could certainly happen, and honestly, it's one that I would endorse. I think that would be a pretty good move for the Bolts, especially if the Chargers are looking to add more defensive backs, on the field. There's no reason to think, if we added Tyrann Mathieu, that you couldn't have Derwin James, Tyrann Mathieu, and Nasir Adderley on the field at the same time. We got to remember, Nasir Adderley, not bad in the slot every once in a while. So I do think that this would be a good move. And at this point, it seems almost certain that Tyrann Mathieu is moving on from the Kansas City Chiefs. Next up, we got Calvin Ridley. This guy, dude, one of those dudes that I was talking a whole lot about, I don't know, a couple of months ago. He has those issues, right? He has those concerns, I should say, because he did leave the game of football for about half of a season. Now it looks like he wants out of the Atlanta Falcons. I did say this would be a great move for the Chargers, and of course, I think I was more in the mindset of, what if the Chargers do let go of Mike Williams, which between Mike Williams, Calvin Ridley, I'm choosing Mike Williams. But at the same time, it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Chargers to get both. Of course, Calvin Ridley, his cap hit for this season would be around $11 million. Definitely not too expensive when you're talking about adding another wide receiver to the roster. You could afford Mike and Calvin Ridley at the same time. Last thing I heard, though, he's been linked to the Patriots and the Browns via trade. You have to guys remember that, via trade. He's likely going to cost maybe a second, third round pick and change. He's not going to cost too much because he does want out of Atlanta. So, as unfortunately for Chargers fans that were hoping, including myself, Calvin Ridley to be a possibility to the Bolts, it seems like his destinations are more linked towards the Patriots and the Browns at this point. Next up, division rival Kansas City Chiefs. They have just tagged, or I think they're likely to tag. I think they do tag. They did tag Orlando Brown, their left tackle. I actually saw this as a pretty good move for the Chiefs. Of course, they went out there and they traded a bunch of draft capital away to get this guy. I didn't think he was going to leave in any, world. So I think Chiefs tagging Orlando Brown, just something to keep an eye out for the Chargers. We're going to need to add some more help in the pass rush to get past this guy in the 2022 season. Next up, this is a pretty big one, man. I don't see a lot of Chargers fans talking about this one, and of course, it's okay, right? DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper, two very strong cut candidates for the Dallas Cowboys here in the next couple of weeks. Of course, we know this is due to cap, right? It also seems like they're going to be restructuring Dak Prescott to help themselves get under the cap once again. But DeMarcus Lawrence suffered a foot injury, I think, early in the season last year. He was quickly replaced by Micah Parsons. That's probably a big reason why they want to move on from him outside of the money. And then Amari Cooper, letting him go would free up about $20 million. Now, between the two, of course, Amari Cooper would be exciting. I think there's some Chargers fans that would love that idea. But if we do bring back Mike Williams, I don't think there's any shot that we go after Amari. And I don't fully reject the idea of Amari Cooper to the Chargers, but I do see other options that fit our team needs a lot better, including a super loaded and fast rookie class in this upcoming draft. As for DeMarcus Lawrence, however, I'm going to go ahead and say it's fine. I'm a big fan of DeMarcus Lawrence, okay? whether or not he's the perfect scheme fit or his numbers, and all that kind of stuff match up, I think they're still pretty great. I think DeMarcus Lawrence before the injury has been pretty dominant, but I'm a big fan of him. This is a biased opinion. I would love to have DeMarcus Lawrence on the team. Is he the perfect fit out? No. Is there better options? Probably, but I don't think you can go wrong with trying to add a D-Law this offseason. So that's the rumor going around in Dallas right now. And there is one more rumor with Michael Gallup as well. It does seem that Michael Gallup, who was on my list of wide receivers for the Chargers to potentially pursue, is going to be re-signing with the Dallas Cowboys. So that does shake things up quite a bit. But let me know what you guys think about the Amari Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence situation. If you had to choose one, which one would you want, right? And would you even want DeMarcus Lawrence? I know there's not a lot of Chargers fans talking about that right now, and that's certainly okay. Next up, we have got Akeem Hicks. This is not a new rumor, okay? I haven't heard anything new, but in the last, I would say, month or so, there has been a lot of talk that Akeem Hicks is very likely going to the Los Angeles Chargers once he does hit free agency. Some Chargers fans like it, some Chargers fans don't. I don't think you can go wrong with it. The only thing that I don't love about Akeem Hicks is the injury history. Of course, he battled a groin injury the majority of last season. His age, yes, is a bit of a concern, but not as much for me personally. I think he's 32 at the time. Definitely older, but at the same time, what he offers the Los Angeles Chargers is exactly what we need. Elite run stopper who offers a lot in pass rush as well. So you can go a lot worse than Akeem Hicks, and of course the rumors have been circulating. That would not be a bad move. There could be better moves, right? When I was looking at the free agents, guys like BJ Hill, DJ Jones, those sorts of dudes definitely, stick out to me as maybe a younger option to go after. But when it comes to scheme fit, familiarity with the head coach, this is not a bad move. Akeem Hicks would be a solid add to the Chargers this season. Next up, another speculative rumor. Here's Mike Gesicki. I think this is probably the talking heads on NFL Network a little bit. Like, wouldn't it be cool if Mike Gesicki went to the Chargers? We've been linked in that way. I haven't heard anything confirmed, but that's just kind of the rumorville here on Mike Gesicki, okay? Next up, we are hearing stuff about Rob Gronkowski. If you guys watched my 2022 off-season plan or whatever a couple of days ago, I did have Rob Gronkowski as part of that plan, a short-term solution for an elite tight end while we let Donald Parham develop just a little bit more, maybe recover from that injury, right? I love that idea. I don't know if it was 100% realistic. I feel like that was probably like a 5%, 10% chance that Gronk does come to Los Angeles to hang out with his buddy Tom Brady, who's shooting a movie at Paramount Pictures this season. But at the same time, Gronk does have some rumors circulating around him right now that if he does decide to stick around and play, the teams he is connected to is Buffalo, who I think have looked into adding Rob Gronkowski, and the Tennessee Titans. So as of right now, Chargers are not officially linked to Rob Gronkowski. I still like the idea of it, man. Some Chargers fans are like, no Rob Gronkowski, injury, this and that. And I'm like, of course, yeah, I get that, but he wouldn't cost a lot. I think in the realm of like $7 million for one season. He's a huge upgrade over Jared Cook, and I think this sets the table up for Donald Parham to continue developing with the Chargers, who I hope is our eventual tight end one going into the future. Donald Parham has so much potential, and a signing like Rob Gronkowski offers him a little bit more time to develop. Next up, we got James Bradbury. I like this, man. James Bradbury, as of right now, teams are poking around a trade for him. Of course, the New York Giants have a couple of players in the line as far as on the trade block. And James Bradbury, I don't know if there's been anything officially connecting him to the Chargers at this point, but I think this would be a solid add. The Chargers, again, Brandon Staley, we can't have too many corners. And I think James Bradbury would be a nice fit with the Chargers. He wouldn't be a huge move. He wouldn't be especially expensive either. But I do think Bradbury's definitely a possibility. As for Saquon Barkley, did I hear anything official about the Chargers going after him? I think I may have seen one article with the Chargers being linked as a potential, destination. I don't know if there was anything official on him. But we did a video on him a couple of days ago because it was certainly very interesting for the Chargers to be linked, or for the Chargers to maybe add this guy. And at the time, I was feeling like the New York Giants, they would definitely want a first-round pick, right? They would want some, hefty compensation to let go of their young superstar who is often injured. And then it comes out maybe a day later that Saquon Barkley may only be worth a fourth-round pick. A 4th rounder for Saquon? I think I could entertain that. But would the New York Giants do so? I don't think so. I think they're going to quickly remove him from the trade block, see if they can get a nice season out of him. And if they still do want to move on from him, maybe they can talk about tagging and, trade him away at a later time. Next up, big rumors, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, man, dude. I cannot wait for all this Aaron Rodgers news to blow over, man. Just pick a place already. It feels like it's going to happen maybe in the next 24 hours. I think he's going to stay a Packer. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he likes the attention a little bit. Who can blame him? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But outside of the Packers, we are hearing a lot of chatter about him going to the Denver Broncos. We've talked a lot about this. I think I did a whole video on what would happen if, Aaron Rodgers went to Denver and how that would affect us, and if certainly this would make our challenge to get into the postseason a lot harder. It's Aaron Rodgers. Of course, there's a lot of guys who are up to the challenge, myself included. I think we could take down A-Rod, but a fit with the Denver Broncos would be pretty dangerous. The Broncos, in my opinion, have a great defense. They've got great young weapons on offense. You add in Aaron Rodgers, it could get messy. Now, there was also some speculation that the Packers may have made a huge offer to keep him in town. I'm going to go ahead and spitball that it's going to be somewhere around $50 million a season over 2 years. That's a lot of moolah, but I do think that the Packers are very serious about keeping him in town. I do think he does stay there. Other potential landing destinations that have been listed are Pittsburgh and Tennessee. Next up, minor bit of news right here. Kyle Van Noy has been released by the New England Patriots. Some people have asked about him. I think that if the Chargers were to consider him, he would be more of like a rotational guy to add in with Uchenna Nwosu if we do bring Nwosu back. So not a bad option there. Next up, we've got Odell Beckham Jr. You got Sean McVay right there leaning in to whisper sweet nothings into the ear of Odell Beckham Jr. Please give us a discount. Come back. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl with us this last year. And it does seem like that's going to be the case right now. It feels like Odell Beckham Jr., he stated that he wants to stay with the Los Angeles Rams and that he would give them a discount in order to stay in town. So there's Odell Beckham Jr. He's likely going to stay, and right now it seems like I'm hearing that the ACL injury is recovering all right. So Odell Beckham Jr. probably not on the table for the Chargers. Next up, Chris Godwin. This one kind of threw me for a loop. I saw a tweet, I think yesterday, about Chris Godwin being connected to the Chargers, that we had a good shot at landing him. Certainly that's still a possibility, but last I'm hearing, Chris Godwin is going to be tagged by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Chris Godwin, so long as Mike Williams gets tagged or stays with the team, I don't think Chris Godwin is a need, right? It's because, he would certainly be exciting, right? That would be awesome to see him with Justin Herbert. But at the same time, you've got a loaded wide receiver draft class. They're super fast. They fit our needs a little bit more. Chris Godwin is as exciting as I thought it would be. Just doesn't make as much sense for the Chargers, and last I'm hearing, he is going to get tagged. Dalton Schultz, a lot of people super excited about him. Did we skip him in this? Oh no, Dalton Schultz. Last I'm hearing, Dalton is going to be tagged. Very talented tight end, but I think he does stay with Dallas. Then of course we got David Njoku. If you guys have been on Twitter this morning, has been tagged by the Cleveland Browns. This one was actually kind of shocking to me as well. They got Harrison Bryant, they got Hooper out there as well. They decided to stick around with David Njoku as well, and it's going to be a hefty tag, north of $10 million, I think. So Njoku, that was one of my favorite, thoughts as far as the Chargers adding a guy this offseason. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, but who knows? I'll be honest, dudes. I feel a little bad. I think David Njoku, such a talented guy, but Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, I don't know how much more. I mean, hopefully they involve him more now that they're tagging him, but at the same time, I think that he's maybe being, held back a little bit in Cleveland at this point. Next up, we heard some rumors that Zadarius Smith is likely going to be cut, and this is something I think a lot of people have been speculating towards, right? The Green Bay Packers are going to have to free up some money if they're going to be offering, Aaron Rodgers $100 million to stick around for 2 more seasons. And I think, additionally, his brother on the other side, the other Smith, is probably going to get cut as well. Zadarius Smith, I've thought a lot about this. Him, to me, he feels like an upgraded Uchenna Nwosu a little bit, but he's going to be a lot more expensive. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to adding him. I think that's a great option. But at the same time, Would it make sense for the Chargers financially? It could. So Javarius Smith, I'm not going to shove that aside. I think that'd be an awesome move. And who knows how much he's going to cost. But again, the Chargers, if you're going to be adding these corners, you're going to maybe introduce a little bit more man coverage this season, you have got to add a quality edge rusher. Uchenna Nwosu is certainly on the table for me, but you would still have to add another guy in to rotate with him, okay? So Javarius Smith, definitely not a bad option right there. Speaking of edge rushers, we have got Von Miller, who's been tweeting on Twitter all morning long, talking about how he probably wants to go back to the Denver Broncos. Dang it, dude. You guys know I was a huge advocate for Von Miller coming to the Los Angeles Chargers. Of course, he brings that pass rush and run defense element to the team, but I understand it, man. Again, he has that, I think he's got connections to Denver, even further beyond football, and then the Los Angeles Rams, I do not think will be able to afford him. So going back to the Denver Broncos, certainly a great move for him. It's not solidified a couple of days. I would say actually last night, the Chargers were listed as a potential destination for him as well, but I haven't heard anything official linking him to the team. So as of right now, Von Miller back to the Denver Broncos would be very interesting. And lastly, the last name on this list, honestly, gets me kind of excited. This was a couple of days ago. Haason Reddick has stated that he wants somewhere in the ballpark of $15 million a season. If you guys watched my perfect offseason, plan for the Chargers a couple of days ago, Haason Reddick was my dude. I think honestly, Haason Reddick is really growing on me as one of my favorite candidates to come to the Chargers and really elevate that edge position opposite of Joey Bosa. I think he's ready to honestly get even better. I think, Haason Reddick and Joey Bosa could be the next big thing, dude. And honestly, again, he's young. He would stay with the team a long time. And $15 million, like I said in my video a couple of days ago, I had him projected for around $14 million a season. I think Tom Telesco could still make that happen. But $15 million a year, I like that. I actually like that a lot. I think the Chargers could definitely work with that. And I also think that Uchenna Nwosu, if we were to re-sign him, would be in the ballpark of $10 to $12 million last I'm hearing. A couple $1 million more a season, maybe even just $1 million more a season. We can get Haason Reddick. The point is the Chargers have options, and the edge position is going to be a big point of emphasis this offseason. So you guys let me know what you're thinking in the comment section below, man. If you could get one of these guys that's been linked to the Chargers, who would it be? Haason Reddick hasn't officially been linked to the Chargers, but he is a guy that I have my eye on heavily this offseason. He's a guy I think slowly emerging. I think as of yesterday, he emerged beyond Von Miller for me, because also great versus the run, huge. I mean, I honestly, again, if the Chargers start implementing more man coverage, Haason's going to get his opportunity to rush the quarterback a lot, and that's where he really does thrive. So I don't know, I'm just starting to see clues here and there. The Chargers may be shifting things up a little bit as far as their defensive scheme with the kind of players that have been linked to them, that are rumored to come to them. I feel like it does indicate that they want to try something different this year, and some of the players that I've seen on this list definitely help that out. Well, that's all I've got for right now, guys. We've got 1 week until free agency. I'm super excited. I had to get on camera and talk about it today. There's going to be more news, man. There is going to be a lot more news coming in the next week or so. I'll try and keep up with it. Maybe I'll do one more huge video right before free agency starts, maybe a couple of days before it starts, just to kind of catch you guys up on all the other moving pieces that we're hearing in the league right now. I'm actually going to check my phone to see if there was anything else crazy that we've heard. Little something about Calvin Ridley. They released Calvin Ridley live on video. The NFL suspended Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley for the 2022 season for betting on games. Oh, wait a minute. That is not good news for Calvin. Holy cow. I'm glad that we got this on camera right now, too. I don't want this video to get stupid long, but oh my word. Calvin Ridley. Oh, in the doghouse. Yikes. All right. I'm glad we got that update here at the end of the video. That is absolutely insane. So Calvin Ridley, you're dead to me. Absolutely crazy, man. Well, guys, let me know in the comment section below what you think of the rest of these moves. I'm glad that we checked the phone right beforehand. It's going to get crazy, man. Just like I was saying, between me starting recording this video and now, we've got even more crazy news coming in. So it's going to be a wild week, a lot of moving pieces. Stay tuned to the channel. I'll keep you guys updated as much as I can. And I think I got a mock draft in me. I think we do. I think we got some fun content coming up this week. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Hit us up with a like and sub on your way out if you did enjoy this content. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Betting on games, Calvin. Tisk tisk.